location north of the wall with the wildlings and the others and
Ice
the White
spiders
Walker.
as big as hounds.
Fucking A. And then eventually, Sam calls up to him, Jon,
Jon.
are you well? Oh, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your favorite full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series, reading A Clash of Kings and almost done with it. As always, I am your host, Zach, and sitting here next to me, my brother, Nate.
Coming in like a fucking jerk. We're not close to being.
I mean, we're more than halfway through at this point, a little bit more.
Barely halfway.
So?
It's not almost done.
I am an optimist.
Oh.
So fuck yourself.
Well, I guess.
If you haven't listened before, I'm going to cut Nate off because he's just rumbling and mambling and rambling. We are full spoiler. And so if you don't want anything spoiled, if you haven't read the series before, don't listen to this podcast.
Or do, but after you've read them.
Sure. And if you've been here before, you know how it goes. I don't know why you came back, but thanks for coming back. Last episode, we were reading Catelyn 4.
Yeah.
Renly died.
Yes, he did.
He got stabbed
Yep.
by Shadow Stannis.
Shadow Stannis.
Question mark.
No, I got nothing. Shadow Stannis.
Yeah, Shadow Stannis. And yeah, that was pretty much the long and short of it. Cat was in Renly's camp to try to make peace between the two brothers and offer an alliance from Robb. That wasn't happening. The two brothers wanted to go to war and wanted to fight, and
She prayed. It went cool. Then Renly died.
Stabbed, and Brienne and Cat fled. They got the fuck out of Dodge.
Fly, you fools.
This episode, we're going to be reading Jon 4.
Johnny boy.
And Jon, last we left Jon in Jon 3, Jon has been north of the wall, trekking up. They made it
to Craster's Keep.
To Craster's Keep, and through some abandoned wildling villages, and essentially Mance is gathering forces in the Frostfangs, and
Craster is sacrificing babies to the others.
it's the cool thing to do.
It's wild. It's fucking wild.
Wildling.
It's wildlings. This chapter, however,
The Brothers of the Night's Watch have pushed onward from Craster's.
yes, and they have finally arrived at what is known by the children of the forest as
A good fisting.
the Fist of the First Man.
Oh, the Fist of the First Man,
Yes.
yeah. And Jon thought it did look like a fist.
Very astute, Jon.
It was a hill that did jut up from the dense surrounding forest. So yeah, he can see how the stones on top look like knuckles. And he had rode to the top with Mormont and the other officers when they first got there, leaving Ghost below under the trees as he had run off 3 times.
3 separate times.
And on the 3rd time, Mormont wasn't fucking waiting for Ghost to call him back and said he'll catch up.
Waiting for Jon to call Ghost back.
Yeah. And so Mormont declares it good ground. They'll have they'll have vantage points they can see, and they'll make camp here until Halfhand gets here. And this
that gives Jon a chance to inspect the ring wall, as they start kind of referring to it, and he sees these patches of the white lichen and the beards of green moss on the stones. I was very off-put immediately by how quickly they were getting. I know there's a term. I know there's a fucking term. But where they start humanizing, giving human traits to inanimate objects.
personification.
That's the word. I guess that makes sense.
It it comes from the point of view where like Jon is kind of astounded, like this was an actual keep at one point from the first men, like that's crazy in the Dawn Age, way back when. So it's that sort of historical
monument.
Yeah,
it's
monument.
like visiting an old castle
exactly.
or something.
In our time, but there is some sort of odd, almost not magic, but otherworldly feeling to it here at the Fist.
Yeah, Thorin Smallwood even says that it's old and strong, and Mormont's Raven kind of copies that. Old.
And speaking of Mormont, Jon notices how
prickly he is about, because he shut the fuck up, Raven.
How much of a toll this trek has taken on him. He's trying to keep up with these young bucks, and it's definitely wearing him thin a little bit. They had crossed a brook at the foot of the hill, and as they're kind of talking about it, Jon, Mormont, and these officers, they're talking about how, yeah, it's going to be a long trek to get water, but the security here is really
worth it.
Yeah, it's unfounded. The Night's Watch begins setting up their camp. Old Bear ordering every opening ditched and staked before dark, so he ain't taking no chances and making sure it's secure.
And then a bunch of the foragers start cutting down some trees, clearing out some woods so that they've got
digging
the stuff.
up them holes, digging.
Yeah, they do dig some latrines and set up their tents and all that good shit.
Jon had to put up the Lord Commander's tent and see to their horses, but once he does, he descends the hill in search of Ghosty Boy. And it says Ghost came at once, all in silence. Just Jon was walking,
and then he's there.
Next thing you know, his Ghost is there. Like, what up? And that's significant for later when Jon meets with Ghost again. When they reach, or right now, I lied. When they reach the ring fort, as they turn back up, Ghost balked. He sniffed warily at the gap in the stones and then retreated as if he smelled something he didn't like. So this is where Jon and I disagree. I'd be going home with my dog. Like,
yeah, I would win.
If Barrick was like sniffing at my room door and all of a sudden started like backing up, like he smelled something, I'm not going in that fucking room.
No, sir.
Hell no, I'm gonna trust this dog way more.
He even tries forcing Ghost.
Yeah, dude,
grabbing
he
him
grabs
and,
him by the scruff and tries to like physically.
Which that I do get because sometimes.
No,
Barrick
yeah,
wants
it's not like
instead
abuse or anything. I'm not thinking of it like that. It's just
yeah.
I trust the dog. Like every dog I've owned, I trust their instincts far better than my own.
And Jon thinks it was not like him to be so unsettled.
What's wrong with you?
Why are you not listening to the goodest boy? Why?
In the end, he had to give it up, and the red eyes watched him as he made his way back through the mossy stones.
So what's up? Is Ghost already just knows the dragonglass is there and wants to bring him?
But why would that be so urgent? Why wouldn't he cross these stones?
Is there some kind of like a magical barrier that's being breached or something? And if you cross, you, I don't know, lose the fucking protection.
I don't know, because it's what would make Ghost not want to go in there? Is it? I don't know. Like, we know that the fist of the first man gets overrun by the others. They get attacked, and so is it that? Is it if you're here, you're marked or something? I don't know. And Jon, kind of trying to convince himself, thinks that they should be safe here. There's commanding views. They've got slopes to defend them, and the forest. But as the dark settles in,
well, because he's looking past everything. He's noticing the mountains way in the distance where they're.
Well, before he does his fucking stoic
hero pose,
he starts thinking, because as it's getting darker, he's starting to get a little more creeped out, and he thinks that this is the haunted forest. Maybe the spirits of the first men still linger around, and I just really liked that after we get Old Nan saying that the morning mist is the morning spirits, the morning
from
ghosts.
The Catelyn chapter before.
And then, he looks over to the setting sun and fucking does a Captain Morgan pose, and
until he starts scaring the shit out of himself, because he starts realizing those are some big woods.
Yeah, south and east was one of the largest forests Jon had ever seen, as far as he could see. 1,000 shades of green with patches of red where the werewoods had shouldered their way through. The wind blew and 1,000 leaves fluttered, and for a moment the forest seemed a deep green sea, storm-tossed and heaving, eternal and unknowable. So, unknowable.
Unknowable is a word that appears.
It is a word, yes it is.
Don't cut me off, you son of a bitch. Is a word that appears in Catelyn, the chapter just before this one, when she's referring to the stranger, which is odd.
Well, and that's not even Catelyn's reference. That's what was told to her by the Septon.
Well, no, not that one. That was her just describing what she saw right there during that part.
Was it?
Yeah. And because I noted that specific section. But it's funny because she almost immediately after she noted that stranger part talked about how she saw Jon in the face of the warrior. But unknowable was a word that was used to describe the stranger, one of the other 7 aspects of the god. And so it's weird that I was in that episode discussing how easily it was to fit Arya into these many different faces of the 7. But then Jon just kind of slides his way into there.
Yeah, and just digging yourself out, he thinks that under that green sea he sees could be anything, creeping toward them in the dark. And he stands there just a long time, just tripping himself all out.
Yeah.
And God, that's such a creepy...
Especially that size of a forest.
Especially
the largest he's ever seen.
That location, north of the wall, with the wildlings and the others. And
ice
the White
spiders
Walker.
as big as hounds.
Fucking A. And then eventually, Sam calls up to him, Jon,
Jon,
are you well? And Jon jumps down as, like, fucking Peter Pan. I am well, Samwell. Are you? And Sam is actually faring pretty good.
Yeah, he's doing all right, surprisingly, considering he's...
And Jon doesn't want to share his disquiet with him, not when Sam is at last beginning to find his courage.
Yeah, so Jon escorts him because he says that they should probably send off a raven to let people know where they're at, what's happening. And they arrive at the ravens, and if you remember when he was out helping Aemon feed them, they learned his name. Snow. All the just stupid ravens. And Sam, I believe, was also trying to teach them the name.
Yeah.
And so he says, Jon thinks they can feel it too. Feel what too? That disquiet that Ghost is experiencing? Do you think it's an animal thing? It's not just a magical... Like, they all feel the unrest here, all the animals and creatures.
Seems to be. That or it's Jon. Because they fucking all pick up with the snow. Like,
yeah, I mean, maybe he kind of puts it in there, but...
yeah, I'm guessing that it's just there's a feel to the land. There's blood on the wind type thing.
Yeah, but Jon decides that he needs to go help Mormont with his dinner, and so he excuses himself from Sam and makes his way...
Yeah, he finds Mormont with Thorin Smallwood and the other lords, and Mormont wants some wine. And so... we learn here that Mormont is actually quite particular about the preparation of his wine.
Dude, let me tell you what, though. Before we get into this is some wine I would drink. I'm not a wine drinker, but if you warm that shit up, you spiced it with some cinnamon. Good. I think he had like some fucking apple. No lemon. Lemons for the beer in the morning. And he was getting all... So, essentially, I'm going through exactly what we're going to go through anyway. This is how he basically...
Oh, I wasn't going through step by step. I was going to say Jon knows the process.
Yeah. So he's a little confused that he refuses to have lemon in the wine, but he has it every morning in his beer. Yo, I'm the same way with a ton of stuff where it's you don't put it in certain things. And if he wants lemon for breakfast, then that's his breakfast thing. Like, there's hot sauces that I will only have on breakfast food because it's a breakfast fucking hot sauce. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, I think it's a humanizing aspect of Mormont of just, he likes his wine a particular way. And
it sounds delicious.
And Jon knows every fucking step of it.
Yeah, so he brings in 8 cups to the tent because of the men that are meeting
he overhears them
outside,
as he's brewing it, and they're talking about the best route into the Frostfangs, of which way they should go and which way they're expected to go. And Jon enters and he sees that Old Bear is looking at the crude map that Sam had drawn at Craster's, and he nods his approval at Jon's wine, which I thought was significant.
Yeah, he tasted
Jon
it.
got
it
right
because it's boiling. Not quite boiling, because if it boils, it's bad.
Yeah, you fucked it up. But Mormont says that he doesn't intend to enter the Frostfangs at all. Unless it's needed. They will emerge eventually. Mance is gathering a host, not to just fucking sit there. We are well placed here, and they cannot hope to slip past us.
Yeah.
If it comes to battle, because some of the lords start talking, what if they fight you? Well, we can't take on a whole army.
Because Sir Malador says, that maybe that's what they want, is for us to just sit there so that they can come and overthrow us. Because they've got thousands. With Corrin getting here, we have 300. And they're worried about that shit.
If it comes to battle, we could not hope for better ground. We'll strengthen defenses, a ring of the sharpest watchers to warn of approach. We'll bring up more water than we need and build cisterns if necessary. It'll actually help give the men something to do. Rangers will limit their ranging to this side of the river until the half-hand arrives. I will not lose any more men. And there's some grumbling at that. Like, we'll be blind. Rah, but
shut the fuck up, and then they're excused.
But yeah, Mormont's like, blind? We know they're in the Frostfangs. What the fuck else is there to see? And so yeah, the officers finish up their wine. The rest of them leave a little more courteously. And before Mormont and Jon start digressing, we will just convene our small council quick and give you guys the deets.
We'll be right back. Here it is, the small council meeting.
Small counseling.
obviously, it's the listener's favorite part of the show
Duh.
when we meet and just give our socials. We talk a little bit. Our YouTube has been absolutely on fire, and so we love you guys commenting and liking and subscribing over there. We appreciate it. You can leave us your inductees if we don't get them. YouTube is really weird with how it gives me the comments, and sometimes I get them like a day later. Sometimes I get them the same day. Sometimes it's like a week later. It's weird shit for some reason. So I'm working on it. If I miss your inductees there, my bad. I'll get there. Otherwise, we like to correspond through email, and our email address is withoutmannersbrotherhood@gmail.com. It's very easy. Just send us stuff. We like to read it. We will write back. What else you got over there?
I'm on Twitter at Carstark92. You're at Twitter's at Manners Without.
Manners Without.
And Manners Without is also the Instagram.
We also have our Patreon, patreon.com/withoutmanners, and you can get bonus episodes like the Ariane sample chapter that was just released. That's up there now for Patreoners. And you also get access to the private Facebook group where we put stupid memes and talk shit about stuff that's not always necessarily Thrones related. So that's a lot of fun. You can just join the regular Facebook group, which is facebook.com/brotherhoodpodcast. And you can leave us rates and reviews and subscribes and all that on any kind of platform you're on, especially Apple Podcasts. What else? I think there's the Stitcher code. You can use the code Brotherhood on Stitcher for a month premium. It's sweet. You should do that. Anyway, we'll let you get back to the episode because I think that's about all we got.
Yeah.
Word. See you there.
So Mormont asked Jon if he thinks that keeping the Rangers close is a bad idea, and Jon's like, "Well, it's not my place to say."
He's like, "I asked you a fucking question. Your job is to answer my question."
And so Jon says, if the Rangers are stay close, he doesn't see how they'll find his uncle. And Mormont's like, they can't, they won't. And
then he goes on to elaborate a little bit further, saying it's massive country up here north of the wall. Like, fucking massive. The chances of stumbling upon him are so unlikely. Like,
you would give up the search, Jon says, and Old Bear just looks at him and says, Maester Aemon says you're clever.
And Jon, then, I like the thought. The answer was there.
Yeah.
Like, he knew it was there, and he's like, oh, it's probably easier for one guy to find 400 than for 300 people to go looking for one person across this expanse.
And then Mormont breaks it down. He says, this many men and horses will leave a trail that even Maester Aemon could follow. Our fires ought to be visible as far off as the foothills of the Frostfangs. If Benjen Stark is alive and free, he will come, I have no doubt. And Jon's like, well, what if and Mormont's like, dead? And again, it says not unkindly.
He'll still probably end up coming then anyway. And you need to be able to expect that shit,
can
man.
you handle that? Because that's a real possibility we got to fucking deal with, just like we do with Othor and Joffrey Flowers.
And Rick Grimes.
And the Raven picks up the Raven just picks up the call of, Dad. And Mormont's like, yeah, all right, I'm not really hungry. I'm going to go to sleep. Fuck off. Wake me at dawn. Get out. And Jon does, but Jon is hungry. So.
Yeah, he kind of walks out, hears some laughing and joking, and sees the fire cooking and smells the food. And he's like, yep, I'm going to fucking eat, though. You might not.
And as he comes up and gets a bowl of stew, Dywen is talking to Gren. Dywen, with his wooden teeth, is saying that he knows this wood as well as any man alive, and he wouldn't care to ride through the haunted forest alone tonight. And Gren asks what it is he smells.
Can you smell it?
Can you smell it?
Can you hear the empty spaces?
So, again, just my fun thing, because I love them both in their connection. Jon has Dywen, who smells, and Arya has Weiss, who sniffs out.
Yeah.
Different things, but it's like Dywen we like. Dywen's like this respected ranger. Weiss is this rat-faced fuck. But Gren asks Dywen what it is he smells.
The cold.
Seems to me it smells like, well, cold. I'm like, oh, all right.
I'm one of the people that can be like, yeah, water has a taste and cold has a smell.
Oh, yeah, no, I get the cold smell. And Hake speaks up. There is no smell to cold, and Jon thinks there is. And he remembers the Lord Commander's chambers that night. It smells like death. he thinks.
And he loses his appetite. He's done. He gives Gren the rest of his fucking stew, and he storms out. I don't want my dinner anymore. Pissed.
Well,
Go to my room.
I didn't see it as angsty.
I know, it's not angsty. It's just fun to think of everything he does as angsty.
But he goes and reheats the wine, what's left of it.
Genius.
And begins looking around, sees the torches lining the ring wall and the sentries that are out. The night was motionless, but moonless, but 1,000 stars shone overhead.
More star talk.
More star talk.
And then, out of nowhere, as he's waiting for the kettle to reheat the final treasures of the wine, he hears howling.
Awoo!
And then directly across the fire from him, he sees...
Sup, dog?
Ghosty eyes. Hey, buddy boy.
Ghost is fucking grilling him. John's surprised to see him, and he's like, oh, shit. And the wolf circled the fire, sniffing John and the wind, never still. And
now he's inside the ring wall now, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, that's when John is like, oh, like, you decided to come in, huh? Like, holy shit. And then John kind of gets the memory that hits him that when the dead came...
Oh, there was something I wanted to mention as well with the wolves that were howling. Because when, I don't know why I missed over it, when Mormont asked for him to go warm up the wine, he says it's a chilly night. And then when the wolves start howling, John says that their voices rose and fell, a chilly song. And I don't know why he kept using the chilly word to really kind of hammer in, like, we know it's fucking cold up here, but is that saying it's even colder? Chillier? I want chilly. But yeah, he sees John kind of riling up there, and you were saying about the...
Yeah, John thinks that when the dead came to the Lord Commander's chambers, Ghost knew. He woke me, he warned me, and so he jumps up, and he's like, fuck, what's going on, Ghost? And Ghost just trots off a little bit.
Is little Timmy in the well again?
And then turns and looks at him like, come on, bitch, you know how this goes. And he begins leading him, and they sneak out through the ring wall. John ends up grabbing a torch and a spike trap. They sneak past a guard, and Ghost begins racing down the hill. John's moving a little more cautiously so he doesn't break his fucking neck. And he quickly finds himself surrounded by trees, struggling to find Ghost, and ends up, like, chasing him fucking, like, halfway around this hill.
Man.
And he finds him at the stream, and Ghost, to me... And Ghost lifts his head, his red eyes glowing, water dripping like slaver from his jaws. There was something fierce and terrible about him in that instant. And then he bounded off.
Yeah, so as he was entering those woods, because I really want to get into that.
Yeah.
Before we do, I wanted to make a quick side thing. As he entered the woods, he got to the edge, and it said that they were warriors armored in bark and leaf. Isn't that kind of what the Children of the Forest's actual armor is made out of? Is just bark and leaf.
Supposed to be.
And so I just thought it was really interesting that for all we know, there could be children just chilling right there watching this all go down.
Why is Ghost scary?
Why is he more fierce and savage than he's ever looked before?
Why am I afraid for John in that moment?
Yeah, it's weird.
Where Ghost just looks up at him and it's just this fucking...
Like, because I picture it as that scary moment, like, in Harry Potter when Voldemort's drinking the blood from the unicorn. And then just that savage look of, like, this thing's gonna fucking kill me right now.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah, I mean, this is like what I would expect John to find if he didn't find direwolf pups in the haunted woods. Like... If the Starks didn't have their wolves, this is what I would expect John to stumble on.
Do you think somebody else is warging into Ghost?
Somebody else?
Like, because I was thinking Bran at first, but, like, it wouldn't be savage like
Bloodraven?
Anybody else. I mean, what if it's, I guess not, 7 fingers there, 7
Faramir?
skins. Yeah.
Faramir 6 skins?
6 skins.
No, because he covets Ghost.
Right. And so, maybe somebody else, though. Yeah,
I mean, it could be Bloodraven to be like, hey, find this
because that's all this is pretty out of character.
Yeah,
for Ghost.
It's very
so
sketchy
maybe
for Ghost.
Maybe he's not in control of his faculties right now.
Yeah. And it all just seems to lead John to a choice because John realizes he can either follow or continue up the hill alone, and he's done a good job of creeping himself out, so he decides to follow.
He's also been kind of thinking of what Dywen had said as well.
And he follows angry, just fucking stomping after Ghost, and he chases him only to lose him again. It seems like Ghost is just...
like, running him in circles.
Skirting his tail, yeah. And then he hears a scrabbling sound, and behind a fallen tree, Ghost is digging furiously. And... John at first thinks it's a grave, seeing a soft mound of dirt, And then he digs through and realizes that it was recently dug. It's fresh, and he feels cloth and finds the bundle of dragonglass knives and daggers and all sorts of shit in there. It was feather light, and he wonders if this is a cache of the children of the forest. Did I super skip ahead on you?
No, you're good. No, you're good.
Okay, yeah. He wonders if it's a cache of the children of the forest. And beneath the dragonglass, there was an old war horn made from an oryx horn and branded in bronze. And some more arrowheads are inside that.
So I think he's really dumb here, because when he first gets there, he says, this is a soft mountain. This was recently done.
Yeah.
But now he's saying, oh, well, this could be a weapons cache stored here for the last 1,000 years by children of the forest. Well, no, because you just said that it was recently dug and placed here.
Well, I mean, it's
Well, so he allowed himself to immediately forget that little fact that it was just recently dug and placed here.
Yeah.
And so I just think that was...
I think it's the heat of the moment. Like, he's pulling it out, and it's this fucking crazy horn and a bunch of dragonglass. That's just... Because the last item, the cloth that he feels the bundle is wrapped in, is good wool, thick, not rotted, not long in the ground, and black, he realizes. And as he unfolds it, he realizes that it was a black cloak of a brother of the Night's Watch. And so, yeah, I think with that realization there at the end, it's also going to be like, oh yeah, this was placed here recently, most likely. But that is the end of Jon. It's a pretty straightforward one at the Fist of the First Men until
Ghost.
Last moment here.
Yeah.
And so, the big question, is that the Horn of Jormungand?
I don't think so.
You don't?
I want it to be.
Do you think Mance has?
I think Mance might have it, yeah.
Excellent.
But I don't know. And Ben Stark placed this here?
Yeah. Right. Before he died, I would believe, yes. Or
after he died.
Yeah,
he's placing it there as...
I think that's Ben's cloak there.
I think Ben was there in the woods. Like, that's why Ghost is so fucking panicky.
You think Benjen warged him?
Maybe.
Benjen
and maybe that's why he's
bones?
so, fucking... we gotta stop saying Benjen, because Cold Hands isn't Benjen.
I'm not saying Cold Hands. I'm saying
Benjen.
I'm saying Benjen, yeah.
Maybe.
Cold Hands to me isn't a brother of the Night's Watch. He's something completely different. Yeah. This was Benjen's cloak, and I could see Benjen either peeking behind a tree and watching Jon do this,
I missed
straight up,
because I was referring to it meaning Cold Hands, but not at all. But I'm meaning Benjen. I think Benjen.
I'm not going off show bullshit. I think Benjen's dead. I do indeed
absolutely
fully believe Benjen started to be dead.
I'm just wondering if it wasn't like Benjen had met the Children of the Forest and gotten the cache of dragonglass. And was on his way back with it and got fucked.
I think there was a meeting.
Year.
Yeah, he knew something. He was coming back with a cache, and that's why I think the horn is important. Because why was it stored there?
Yeah, I suppose.
And so, I think Benjen is fully dead. I think we could have even found his corpse either nearby or something. Maybe not his corpse, because it might be walking around.
I don't think that.
I think this had nothing to do with Cold Hands. I don't think this was Benjen. But with that said, you got an inductee for this Jon chapter. Short one.
I had one and now I lost it. So you go first.
Mine's going to Sam.
Word.
Sam's doing well, and he seems to be the only person on this fucking journey who's finding his courage, which is so fucking cool in
that map.
In the building foreboding that is, and what's to come. I mean, when I first read it, detested Samwell Tarly's first chapter because of the amount of time sobbing appears in it. It just drove me fucking nuts. But what's coming for them in seeing Sam's mood? They're both slowly building to a head, and Sam is just gonna immediately drop off. And so I'm really excited for that. So yeah, Sam, because he's living life right now, he's doing the best he can.
Well, he can. I remembered mine, so I'm giving mine to Dywen. Because he knows something's happening, man. He knows there's some shit going down around him. He's not oblivious to it. And so he's sitting out there with his little wooden teeth chattering, eating his little stew, and trying to warn Gren, but that dumbass doesn't want to listen, so...
Valid. So, Dywen.
Yeah. Now, we also, of course, got a inductee from our favorite French fry, Julian. Hello guys, here it is. The Fist of the First Men. Finally, I'm reading it and not watching it. So much better. And wow, the fact that Ghost is the key to finding dragonglass makes me really happy. The other thing that I loved was how the forest is dense and infinite. How anything could move through it without anyone knowing. That's a scary thought. One could think about the wildlings for sure, but even more about the White Walkers. Damn. Inductee, Ghost.
Ghost.
Bye guys, Valar Ghosteris.
Do you think it was Ghost in there, Julian? Write us and let us know if you think it was Ghost in there, if he was being his bones were getting jumped by some warger.
Was he getting warged?
Yeah, thank you for your inductee, as always. And those were our thoughts, feelings, and opinions on Johnny Boy. Was it John 3?
John 4.
John 4
Next,
of a class.
though, we will be reading Bran 5.
And after that is going to be Tyrion 8.
Tyrion 8, yeah. So Bran 5 is a fairly short one, but, you know, if we can get a little more out of it, we'll do what we can. But send in your inductees for that and Tyrion 8, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Valar Daharius.
Peace.